All right. So on PlayStation, you can actually just hold in square. It actually doesn't work on this screen, I just learned. But you can actually just hold square or circle, and Cloud will repeatedly auto-attack. And so for this section of the game, actually, let me do a pause and a save state here, because we're going to talk about something else. So for this section of the game, basically, if you hold in the button and to keep on attacking, red bikes won't try to get past you. So the idea is to try to not kill red bikes, but do kill orange bikes until you have 3 red bikes, and then you can just sit here and hold the button until the sequence is over. This is a great opportunity while you're holding the button with your left hand, perhaps, or whichever is your non-dominant hand, to then operate your mouse with the right hand and close all of that elevator garbage. It's when I'm doing this that I close those 4 elevator manipulated windows, and then I also prepare my world map manipulations for the next section, and oh boy, is that going to be fun to talk about. Alright, so we are going to talk about another aspect of this in a minute here, but first let's talk about the Motorball fight. So, this is actually pretty interesting. It is now time, it's now time to talk about a more complicated boss battle. Sample, Apps, Rufus, not that complicated. Heligunner, a little bit more complicated, but still not that complicated. Motorball, this fight we got to talk about. It's still, in the end, this isn't the most complicated fight. It's very scripted. It should go about the same way every time, but it's kind of a lot to take in at first. So first of all, there is a pretty easy strat for him, the 10 Grenade Strat, and this is what I would suggest doing if you don't need to use a Braver with Cloud. The 10 Grenade Strat, if you have the 10th grenade, well, 12th grenade, because you're going to need 2 in a minute, at least. But yeah, so there is a pretty easy way to fight him, which is just that you queue up a bolt with Cloud and grenades with Barret and Tifa, and you just do that 4 times. And then when you bolt with Cloud the 5th time, you don't throw a grenade with Tifa and Barret. Instead, you wait until Motorball stands up, and then you do grenade, bolt, grenade in this order. And then also, as this last grenade is going off, you queue up Tifa's Beat Rush just in case you need to insert the limit break. And you know what? Let me just show this way of doing the fight real quick, because it's very simple. And we're going to build on this in a couple seconds, or in a couple minutes. So this is the very, very easy way to do this fight, but it does not get you a Braver on Cloud, which you kind of need. And there is one more aspect of complication to it, but we'll see if we have to talk about it yet. Alright, so bolt, grenade, grenade. And at this point, now that the 3 of them are set up, you just hold circle. So, count your bolts. This is 1. So we just queued up 2, by the way. So we just queued up bolt number 2. And remember, after bolt 5, don't do grenades. Alright, bolt number 3, we just queued. And just hold in circle with the cursor memory here on the grenades for the other 2. I actually haven't done this strat in forever. Because, I want the Braver. Bolt number 4. And bolt number 5. So now again, don't queue more grenades. Wait for this bolt to go off. Wait for Motorball to start standing up and Cloud's ATB to empty. So there, Cloud's ATB emptied. So now it's grenade, bolt, grenade in the order of Tifa, Cloud, Barret. Bolt or grenade, bolt, grenade. And then get ready with Beat Rush here. Oh, but he already died, so we didn't need it. All right. So that's the 10 grenade strat. That's very simple. This is more of just a script that you follow for doing that. It's a little bit more complicated than the other fights as far as what's going on. Okay, so let's talk about one potential complication here. Let's say that your RNG rolls have been giving Cloud a little bit too much magic power. You don't have time to look at Cloud's stats and determine this before the fight. You just improvise when it happens. So the magic number that you're looking for is 223 damage from the bolts. So we do a bolt, grenade, grenade, and what you should be keeping track of is a plus or minus on whether you're over damaging him. Because I guess I should explain the overall purpose of why we're talking about high rolls. If you over damage Motorball before he stands up, remember on the last bolt where I said before queuing Tifa's grenade, you need to wait for Motorball to stand up and for Cloud's ATB to empty? If you over damage him, you'll know it right away because he'll start to stand up without Cloud's ATB bar emptying. And when he does that, he stands up, and then he immediately gets back down, and he does another fire attack, which can kill everybody. It can game over you, or at the very least, it's extremely bad. So, you need to make sure that you're not over-damaging him. And so, the magic number for the bolts is 223. So, 234, so we're plus 11 already. And this is bolt number 2. So just think about plus 11 in your head. All right, that's plus a lot more, plus 18. And this is why you gotta use your fingers to count. Because you're thinking about other numbers at the same time. Yeah, and at this point, you don't even really need to keep counting. So here's what you do. Because you know that you're over-damaging him, we're about to queue up the 5th bolt. But instead of a bolt, you have 2 options. You can either queue an ice instead of a bolt, because that will do about half the damage, and that'll cause him to not be over-damaged. Or, if you want to be faster and you have a grenade to spare, you can throw a grenade instead. A grenade is much faster than an ice cast. And so, we are going to do exactly that. We're going to queue up a grenade instead of a bolt. And then same thing, just watch for his ATB bar to empty. Alright, and now remember cursor memory though, you got to get back up to that bolt. So notice, I got the yeah right away, but I waited to confirm it until Barrett's turn. Because the beat rush is slow, and it's only to kill if this grenade doesn't kill, which it's going to. So this grenade is going to kill, but if it didn't, this prioritized Tifa limit would finish him off instead. But now, are you guys ready for it to become slightly more complicated? Now, instead of doing the 10 grenade strat, where we don't braver, it is now time to do the 9 grenade strat. And look how many more lines of text this is. But it's basically the same thing. This is essentially just 4 bolt grenade grenades, except we're going to do the sneaky braver. You know where we're talking about that limit queuing priority? So right here, we're going to get a Cloud bolt, Tifa Barrett grenade, and then Cloud bravers, all in one go. So this is still basically the bolt grenade, except because we are sneaking this extra braver in right here, we're going to not do anything with Barrett on the first turn. You know what I mean? And so the way that I do this, and again, other people might tell you other things, and you can play around with it yourself, but the way that I do this part is is in order to use the Braver, and so this now, what we're at now is the strat that I would actually recommend. So those first couple were sort of for the purpose of understanding the fight, and now this one is like, this is how we actually do it. This is particularly why I like to have Cloud have a Braver, have either right here or a complete limit break for the start of the fight, is so that you can do this at this time. You can still do this strat with the Braver later, if you need to. But here we go. So Barret, I still highlight item, but we just don't do anything with Barret yet. And the reason we throw a grenade with Tifa and not Barret is because Tifa throws grenades faster. So this time it's Bolt, Grenade, and now we're going to queue up another Bolt, Grenade, Grenade, and then this time we're going to buffer up and circle in order to queue up a Cloud's Braver here. So here comes the Braver. And then another thing of note is that I'm not queuing up Tifa's turn right away because he already has his turn queued. Just like the whole thing with Guard Scorpion earlier, where you can flip around your party members' turn orders because the enemy just has its turn queued already anyway. Same thing here. It doesn't matter if I wait to queue Tifa's turn until later. I want Cloud to go first because it helps me organize the fight better. So, I wait for the Braver, flip over to Cloud, queue up Bolt, Grenade, Grenade, and now there's just 2 of them left, right? Because we already did 2 bolts, 2 more bolts before the last bolt. But now we've used a Braver. So that's Bolt, Grenade, Grenade. We're going to queue up 1 more Bolt, Grenade, Grenade. And it looks like our damage, it's right on the edge. I'm going to queue the Bolt, but this is risky. If this doesn't work, it's because I'm being kind of reckless. So just watch Cloud's ATB bar here and see if it empties. It did. Okay, we're good. And then, okay, one more thing. You might wonder, how do you get the Yaz so easily? Here's the pattern, is that the slots always start at the same spot at the start of a fight, you know? And so the sound, I use the sound cue. It kind of, the reels kind of sound like, you know what I mean? They got like a part, you know what I mean? And so I kind of wait for there to be 3 and then I go in, you know? It's kind of like that. That's kind of how it sounds. Right? Listen for it. It's something like that, right? So I hope what we just demonstrated is that these 2 strats are actually very similar to each other. It's just that right here, we wait with Barret because we're gonna get extra damage from the Braver right here. And that all evens out because you don't want to over damage him. And now this Bolt again could be instead of icing, you could do a grenade instead, which with the amount of extra grenades that we have due to elevator manip, I'm going to just officially change that in my notes here because I think that you should, because it's faster. The way that I kind of like envision the fight in my head, right, is that there's 5 bolts and actions happen between them, right? If you're doing this strat, it's 2 grenades happen between them, right? 5 bolts, 2 grenades between each one. Or on this one, you just hold on the first one so that you can do the Braver here. Otherwise, it's kind of the same thing, right? It's 5 bolts, 1 grenade, 2 grenades and a Braver, 2 grenades, 2 grenades. And then your last bolt is either a bolt, or if you're over damaging, throw the grenade. The over damage, once again, is if you're like well over, or if you're over 223 average, or if your Braver crits. You also got to pay attention to that. The Braver should do about 135 damage, give or take. And if it does like 250, 260, your Braver crit, and you need to throw the grenade at the end because you overdamaged him. So, and then after all of that, you know, this is like this right here, this final bolt that usually it's a bolt that you do with Cloud. That's like the big moment of the fight, right? Is that after that bolt, if Cloud's ATB empties right away because he's not getting countered, and Motorball stands up, boom, that's the climax. Grenade, bolt, grenade. And then the reason it's Tifa first is because you then queue up Tifa's beat rush as Barrett's throwing his grenade, so that just in case this grenade doesn't kill, this beat rush will definitely kill. And that's Motorball. One more thing to talk about is, like, let's say that Cloud has, like, no limit going into the fight. Let's say Cloud's limit is super low. He's got, like, well, let's just give him 0. One thing that you can do in this fight, or in this sequence, is, do you remember at the start of the fight, Motorball does the arm attack? His first 2 turns are arm attacks. He always arm attacks the character with the most HP, which at this point is not Cloud, because we just loaded Cloud up with green materia, and that lowers his max HP by several %. So in order to manipulate Motorball into attacking Cloud to give him limit, what we can do is kind of let a red bike past for a minute and let that red bike kind of wail on Barrett and Tifa for a moment, mostly Tifa, but not too much. I mean, like, that should be about good, right? And there we go. So we allowed. Uh-oh, that orange bike just wiped out the other 2 red bikes. Okay, so now we got to sit here and manage orange bikes for a second. All right. So now, I don't usually do this strat because I usually just, like, force Rufus to give Cloud limit break before I finish Rufus off, which usually doesn't require any waiting, but, like, worst case scenario, I let him shoot me 1 extra time usually. But let's just say that we have no limit break coming into Motorball. So he now has 338 health, so Cloud now has the most health of anybody. So now the first arm attack is going to hit Cloud, and it's going to give him some limit break. So we're going to start the fight with just the usual bolt, grenade, wait. And there, he got his limit break right away. 222. So now bolt. Grenade, grenade. Buffer up and circle now. So we're plus 2 on damage right now. Here's the Braver. Right. We got a little bit lucky here. Worst case scenario, that fire attack is going to give you your Braver that you need. Okay, so we're plus 1 right now. So I hope that this just low rolls. We're right on. I'm just bolting because we're, like, exactly on. Yeah, it would be not great to have to do it after the fire, but oops, that circle went through twice for some reason. But there you go. So there is also how if you don't have enough limit at the start of the fight, you can let the bikes hit Barrett and Tifa a little bit. That will manipulate Motorball into attacking Cloud, which will help get him some more limit break, or it should, unless it misses him, of course. And there we go. So, that's Midgar. That's, you know, that's the entire remake content. So we're out of Midgar. And so that means that the next... I think that about does it for the Motorball tutorial. There are other things that can happen. Like what Ace is saying in chat, it's possible that the arm attack misses Cloud. You know, it's possible that, you know, he might only have single arm attacked Cloud, and then that wouldn't have given him that limit there. Not something I usually have to worry about. I rarely do the whole bike Motorball manipulation kind of thing. I don't, with the way that I personally route it, you know, I try to use the Braver on Rufus as early as possible so that then I have as much limit as possible for the start of the Motorball fight, and that's just my style. So, hopefully that was that this much of the walkthrough was informative for you. Next up is there's gonna be a lot of information at the start of the next part of the walkthrough, because we get to talk about world map mechanics. Because we're going out to the world map, and we got to talk about all the world map mechanics, and that will be a very good time, including how to manipulate the world map into giving you fewer encounters and that type of thing, or just desirable encounters. So get ready for that next time. For now, see you on the next episode.